Hello and welcome again to sportingways.com. My name's Thomas Rooney. Once again I'm joined by Joe Rooney. What we're going to do is have a look at Euro 2012 as a whole as a tournament. We're going to look at the winners, Spain. We're going to look at a surprise package, the biggest flop, and then the player of the tournament as well. And then finally just a look at the tournament overall. But we're going to begin by looking at the winners, Spain. It's sort of the first of our roundup of the tournament. As I say, Spain won the competition. They beat Italy comfortably in the final. Incredible performance in that final. And generally in the tournament, they fully deserved it, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they were incredible, weren't they? In that final especially. I mean, at the start of the tournament they weren't at their best, but what does that matter? You know, they got better as it went on, and in that final game against Italy, they blew them away and were just incredible.
And I think the fact, were they not at their best, or was it just that people were a little bit bored of them winning? And if they started off slightly slowly, which they have done in tournaments anyway, but they got so much ridiculous, well, criticism is probably the wrong word, but they did get a lot of people questioning whether they still had it, and then they just put that to bed completely in the final, and they've got to be considered as one of the best teams ever. Yeah,
they definitely have, and I don't actually think they were at their best, because I think that final was them at their best.
Oh yeah,
I don't think they were quite up to that standard during the tournament, but yeah, I mean, they've got to go down as one of the best ever. I mean, to do 3 tournaments in a row,
I didn't think they could do it.
It's just incredible, it really is.
Again, they've still got plenty of time to be successful as well. I think Xavi's their oldest player, or sort of oldest of their sort of big names at 32, and that's not that old. He could still be there in a couple of years' time, and then obviously the main core of the side will probably still be there. Iniesta's 28. I know,
it's ridiculous. Iniesta, you know, he could go on to win another 3 tournaments easily. You know, Xavi can go to at least 36, 38, because he's that kind of player, I think, that can keep going. And yeah, I mean, I can only see him getting stronger. That's the worrying thing.
Okay, so in terms of that, we've got just an odds. We've got 5-1 on Spain to win the next World Cup, but that's our round-up of Spain, the winners. Okay, the next section of our Euro 2012 roundup, we're going to look at the surprise package of the tournament, and we believe this is Italy. Obviously made it to the final, but then sort of comfortably defeated in the end in the final by a very good Spain side. But Italy can be very pleased with their tournament. They lost 3 games in succession going into it, so the expectation levels were low. Certainly from the outside looking in, they were low. You didn't expect too much of Italy, but they progressed well throughout the tournament, had an excellent game plan, and they deserve a lot of credit for how they performed in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were in such a tough group as well, weren't they, with Spain and Croatia, who were 2 sort of teams that could go. You know, Croatia, you're expecting them to do a little bit better maybe. And yeah, Italy, they were good. They seem to have a more attacking style of football as well as keeping their sort of defensive roots, if you know what I mean. You know, but with the likes of Balotelli and Pella, they definitely had a bit more attacking flair.
You mentioned Balotelli, sort of a player that sort of came of age a little bit during this tournament, because obviously, especially the 2 goals against Germany, he'll be remembered for that for many years to come, and you know, he'll want to be that sort of one of the many highlights for an international career, because he's still only very young.
Yeah, I mean, he's still obviously got a lot to learn, but I think this tournament was a good stepping stone for him. He impressed, he showed that he's very, very good, but he can get a lot better, and you don't need back him to get better as tournaments go on, I think.
Okay, and Prandelli's future is slightly uncertain. He mentioned he'd reconsider it after the final, but I for one would really like him to stay on. I think he should be there for the 2014 World Cup, progress the players that he's got on, otherwise they're kind of just starting again, aren't they? And I think it's better if you keep your coach after a tournament like that.
Yeah, I think if Italy are to go on and win major tournaments, then they need Prandelli there. He seems to have a good. You were talking about Balotelli, I think, which is what managers need to do
for them.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is that he has come and he said that he misses the sort of day-to-day life of club football, so that might be a factor there. But no, I think he should stay on.
Okay, sort of on that similar note, really, actually, some good value for the odds we've picked out for Italy. It's the surprise package here, Euro 2012. They're 20-1 to win the World Cup in a couple of years' time, so some decent value there for our surprise package for Euro 2012 is Italy. Okay, next up we're going to look at the biggest flop at Euro 2012, and without any doubt whatsoever, this is Holland. I think everyone can agree with that. They lost every single game at Euro 2012, crashed out at the group stage, and we have discussed them before, but just the way they crashed out like that, and sort of they're in a tough group, so there was an argument to make they wouldn't make it through, but to lose every single game, that's for a team of their nature, that's just terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, if they'd have gone out and say with sort of 4 points or something, they put in some good performances, and you could kind of almost give them, but I mean they were awful, really. You think about it, and with that players on that squad, I know it was a very tough group in the end, but they should have progressed from it. There's no doubt about it. They should be a better side than Portugal and Denmark, but they just simply weren't, and they completely choked.
Do you think it's the end of the road for this team, or do they go again? I'm saying certain players, I think the likes of Van Bommel and De Jong, maybe they probably had their day sort of in the centre of that midfield, and they need to bring some new people alongside the likes of Van Persie, Schneider, and Robin. So what do you think about them going forward?
Yeah, I think sort of the likes of Van Bommel, I think you've got to move on from them. But Van Persie and Robin, they've still got so much to prove at international level because they haven't done it. I mean, end of the road, but the end of the road that's been where, they haven't really done anything, and they've still got so much to prove. So they've got to maybe give it one more go.
I think Holland they've got a certain amount of players that are very successful for their clubs, have been for a number of years, have earned a hell of a lot of money, have got an incredible lifestyle, very popular, sort of people think, oh, they're good players. And I think that in the end has come sort of to bite them in the backside, really, because I just think they got too many individuals and it just didn't happen as a team, did it? And I'm not sure they're that fussed.
No, I think there was not very nice arrogance about the side. I think the likes of Robin especially, and Van Persie's been guilty of that in the past with Arsenal at times, a bit too arrogant, but I think Van Persie also realised how people say that he is Arsenal, but he's nothing without Arsenal, is he? So, they've got a lot to learn, I think.
Okay, so the biggest flop at Euro 2012 gone for Holland. In terms of a betting market to look out for them, obviously their coach Bert van Marwijk stood down after the tournament, and we reckon Frank de Boer at 10-1 is a good chance to be their next manager, although the favourite is Louis van Gaal. So the biggest flop at Euro 2012, without doubt, it's Holland. Okay, the next section to look out for Euro 2012, our summary of the tournament, is the player of the tournament. Now, the official award went to Andreas Iniesta, and no real arguments there. I mean, obviously there are a lot of other contenders, which we'll talk about in a second, but you can't say he didn't deserve it because he was pure class throughout the whole tournament, and especially in the sort of semi-final and final. Yeah,
I mean, you said that he didn't let his performances slip throughout the whole tournament, did he? He was fantastic, and he just showed that he is one of the best. Sometimes I don't think he actually gets enough credit as one of the world's best because he's in the same club side as someone like Messi. But I think Messi without the likes of Iniesta wouldn't be
anyway. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll also just give it. We've got each got a player who we think might have deserved it. Although, as we say, we can't argue with Iniesta. But my shout was possibly Xabi Alonso. Obviously, he's alongside Iniesta and doesn't get as much praise as the likes of Xavi and Iniesta. But I think as Xabi Alonso, I mean, I personally rate him as maybe a slightly better player than Xavi. I would have Xabi Alonso in my team over him, certainly at this stages of their career. I just think he scored a couple of crucial goals and his calm penalty sort of in the quarterfinals against France. And I personally think he's just had a fantastic tournament. He's a world-class player. He's the heartbeat of Real Madrid's midfield, and I think he would have been a fantastic shout for the player of the tournament if you're looking beyond the class of Iniesta. So you've also got a shout who you think could have got it?
Yeah, Andre Pirlo. I think it might sound a little bit harsh, but Iniesta, I think if he was out, I still think Spain would have won the tournament. But with Pirlo, I think if he wasn't around, then Italy wouldn't have got anywhere near the final. I think he was completely influential in everything they did.
Yeah.
I mean, the game against England really stands out for me. He was just incredible, and he's just such a cool head in that midfield. And you say that similar to Xabi Alonso, he just makes them tick, and he's the one they look to, and he was just completely influential. And I think the reason why they got to the final.
And obviously, I wouldn't say it was good to see him crying at the end because that's a bit harsh, but he obviously was extremely passionate about his nation. Probably knows that that's the closest he's ever going to get to winning another major tournament for Italy. So, but they had a fantastic tournament without any doubt whatsoever. Other contenders, we've got Cristiano Ronaldo, who stepped up for Portugal and got them sort of into the latter stages. Steven Gerrard was probably England's best player, although and if they'd have progressed a couple more, he'd have been in with a shout. Got Schweinsteiger for Germany, who seems like he's about 40 years old and been involved in England. He's 26 years old and he's just sort of a major part of Germany's team. Got Jordi Alba as well for Spain, who was fantastic, emerged, and he's going to be playing at the Olympics as well, which is good. Got David Silva, I thought, carried on where he left off Manchester City and was fantastic. He also got Pepe at centre-back of Portugal. I thought he was one of the better defenders in the tournament. And final word we're going to say for Mario Balotelli. I think he was up there, we mentioned him earlier, but he was fantastic for Italy, and hopefully in the next 10, 12 years he can be a major part of what Italy do.
Yeah, he can be. He's now, because Pirlo's obviously towards the end of his career. Balotelli's the one
future,
they've got to look at, and he's got to be the one that sort of drives them to success. And he's good enough. With the right management, he's definitely good enough to go on and score a lot of goals in major tournaments and in international football.
Obviously, to summarise Balotelli, really, you can see that our odds for this particular section of the video is got 100-1 for his first child to be called Baby Telly. And that just says a lot of the attention he gets away from football. There's not many players in the world that would have a market for that. But that probably says all about him, but he's a lively character and one that would be more boring without it. Okay, just finally for our summary of Euro 2012, we just want to give a bit of credit to the co-hosts, really, to Poland and Ukraine. We thought The atmosphere inside the grounds was fantastic. There was probably one day where there was a little bit of violence, but you wonder whether that was due to Poland and Russia playing on a Russia day, which wasn't the wisest decision in the world, but still, we thought it was a fantastic tournament, and they definitely deserve credit as the go-go's, don't they? They played a big part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually well organised, and both teams in the group stages put, like I say, fantastic atmosphere and played some fantastic games as well. Both a bit unlucky not to go through, but yeah, great tournament. They organised it well, sort of under all the controversy that it was. It's actually football that we're talking about, isn't it?
It was Poland who, as I say, both had good matches. I mean, Poland started the tournament off with a fantastic game. That sort of set the tone, certainly for the group stages in terms of the tempo to games. And then Ukraine, knowing that moment when Shevchenko scored those 2 goals against Sweden, that'll be remembered for years to come. When
I mean, it was arguably the moment of the tournament, wasn't it? I think everyone apart from Swedish fans just looked at it and couldn't help but cheer it. You know, it was just a fantastic thing to see, and you know, they're 2 good sides as well that can take this tournament and progress from it, I think.
Okay, yeah, so Euro 2012 is a tournament we thoroughly enjoyed, and we look forward to telling you why England will win the 2014 World Cup in the future.